This is how to make the best resume for free this year. And I'm gonna show you how to do a resume from scratch if you don't even have one. And I'm gonna show you how to update your resume as easy and quick as possible. So go ahead and use the timestamps down below to skip to the section that applies to you. So first, let's talk about how to make your resume from scratch. Now, obviously, you're gonna need to have a Gmail account. So go ahead and create one if you don't already have one, because you're gonna need a Gmail account in order to use Google Gemini and to make a Google Doc to create your resume. And then once you have your Google account created, you're gonna wanna open up Google Gemini. And I'd recommend Gemini over ChatGPT right now because ChatGPT, if you don't pay for it, you can only do one query per day. And Google Gemini lets you do more than that. And then go ahead and find a job description. I like to use Indeed.com to find my job postings, but you can use Indeed, LinkedIn, Google Jobs, anything that you want. Let's just take this one for example. Here's your job description. So you're gonna wanna copy the whole job description up until benefits. Yep, everything in terms of the job description itself, not worrying about anything in the company. Then go to ChatGPT and you're gonna say, create a resume for me using this job description. Now I did test just copying the URL and then asking Gemini to do it, and it doesn't work the same or as well as if you were to paste the entire text. You'll get an error that says this. Okay, so this is your resume template, easy as can be for your potential job description. Now you're gonna go ahead to your Google Drive, and then you're gonna create a brand new Google Doc. Then in your Google Doc, all you gotta do is simply copy and paste directly from Google Gemini. So here it already shows you what the exact sections you're gonna need in your resume. You're gonna wanna have your information here at the top. I actually recommend you go ahead and center this, and then you should probably make it a little bit bigger than the rest of your resume. And then I like to center all of my section headers here. Education should be last as long as you have been working for more than 3 years. If you are a recent college graduate or are about to finish school, education should actually come before your work experience. I actually think you should move skills up, especially if you have a technical role. So if you're into like an engineering position or you work in product management, you're going to want to have skills as your second section here. And this bullet formatting is okay. You can see how with ChatGPT or Google Gemini, they're gonna categorize these skills for you. And I would only focus on the hard skills, so no soft skills. So I would get rid of prioritization and time management. And communication is not a skill that you should focus on because that's going to be evident when they do the interviews. And then here, you're noticing that this is actually not a skill, right? Using applicant tracking systems. This is more of a technology. So you can call this skills and tools, or you could call it skills and technologies that you're proficient with. And then this one's not really a skill here. This is just like an example of a domain expertise. So as a recruiter, one of my domain areas of expertise may be that I hire machine learning engineers, or I focus on front-end software engineers, or I focus on hiring folks in sales or finance or marketing. You are going to want to highlight that. But I recommend you do it actually in your summary section. Your summary is where you're going to highlight very quickly the overall years of experience that you have, your industry of expertise, and your domain of expertise. Because people are going to want to quickly know at the top of your resume, okay, what industries have you worked in? Is that relevant for my company? What are your domain focus areas? Like what are your core skill sets or areas that you focus on, and how is that related to this particular type of job? So in my case, I'm applying for recruiting positions. So a company that's looking to hire a recruiter to hire machine learning engineers for them is probably going to want to only hire or look at candidates that are already hiring or have experience hiring machine learning engineers. And that way they don't have to do a lot of training, and I can hit the ground running, and I'd be a much more successful recruiter joining and having a greater impact right away than hiring a recruiter that's good but has never hired machine learning engineers before. So that's the type of stuff you're going to want to save for your summary section at the top. And that's why I always recommend you update the summary after you're done updating your whole resume, because then you'll have a better sense of what to put here. And then you can categorize it like this in terms of broad-reaching skills. So under technical recruiting, you can figure out what kind of specific recruiting skills you have that are related to this. Now, some of this is a little obvious, so you may not need to include everything. And then here you can mention all the ATS specific technologies, right? Greenhouse, lever, etc. And then sourcing is technically a skill and how you go ahead and do it. I mean, networking, probably not something you want to include, right? Stakeholder management, this is kind of more of a soft skill. It's kind of like cross-functional collaboration. So I would actually say you don't need this. So double check all your skills and tools, and then you can go down to your work experience. Now, here's the interesting piece. I do think if you have less than 10 years of work experience, your resume should be 1 page. If you have more than that, it can be 2 pages. So as of right now, with this Google Gemini resume template, I'm a little more than a page. So what I may want to do is play around a little bit with the font sizing, and then if you have any previous roles, right? So next, I would say go down into your work experience section, fill out your dates of employment, the companies that you worked for. You are going to want to, this is super important, you want to make sure the job titles you put on the resume are as close as possible to what you are applying for. Now, for example, there are different ways to describe a recruiting position when they post job descriptions. They could call you a recruiter, or they could also call you person who works in talent acquisition. So if you're applying for this job, you want to change your job title to talent acquisition. Even though technically it is the same job, when you're applying through the ATS, they may have certain keywords in which you would have a higher ranking if it matches talent acquisition instead of technical recruiter. And then Google Gemini, what they did is they took the job description roles and responsibilities, and then they converted that into potential bullets that you would want to have. If you're able to match all of the responsibilities that they're looking for in their job description here, you're going to have a much higher ranking in the ATS system, and you're obviously going to be a perfect fit for when the recruiters are reviewing resumes. So read through each of the ones that are auto-populated, make sure you've actually done these, and then remove the ones that you haven't. And you can see here, because you're just using a template, they don't actually have any quantifiable numbers because you haven't put in any of your own data. So go ahead and read through these and then add some results at the end to show the impact of the benefit of your work for your company. So here, for example, own full cycle engineering recruitment from sourcing and screening to offer negotiation and onboarding, consistently exceeding hiring targets by 120%. This will show them that not only am I able to hit my hiring goals as a recruiter, but I've actually been able to exceed them consistently over time, making me a really good candidate to stand out. And then what you can do is you can go ahead and copy this and then do it again for the previous role that you had. You don't need to have all of the exact same bullets. I don't need to repeat that I own full cycle engineering recruitment from sourcing to screening to offer negotiation for every single one of these jobs because it is redundant. So here, for example, you can just get rid of this one and then describe something else that would be a little bit different than what you're highlighting in your previous role before that. And then do that for the majority of your employment all the way until you're able to fill the page. And then education section should be last. And then make sure you title this with your name. And then when you're ready to apply for jobs, all you have to do is download it as a PDF document, and then that's what you can use to apply. Okay, so now let's say you already had a resume and you want to update it before you start applying for jobs this year. So you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to find your job description here from whatever job board that you want. So I'll take this one. Copy everything before benefits, go back to Google Gemini, and you can say, please analyze this job description for keywords that the recruiter would want to see on a resume. Paste. And then once this is done loading, you can go to your actual resume, and then I would copy everything from your summary all the way down. And then I would start with work experience, come down, copy, go back to Gemini and say, based on that job description, can you update my resume and optimize it for the ATS, and then paste your text in here. One of the cool things is it even gave you a summary, even though I didn't paste one in. It still keeps your dates of employment and your job title and your companies, which is great. It even used some of my verbiage here, and then all of my previous work experience. And then skills section is at the bottom. And Google Gemini tells you the key things that you need to know for ATS optimization. So keywords, which is what they tried to do here. And they did that by starting each of the bullets with a keyword from the job description that the ATS and recruiter is going to be looking for. They kept all of my metrics in here, so to show quantifiable results, showing the business impact. Consistent formatting, basically just meaning you don't want any of those fancy graphs or charts or diagrams or any photos of yourself. And don't try to break up your resume into different columns. So then what I would do is I would copy this section here and then paste it over my existing work experience. Boom. I would remove any of the soft skills like stakeholder collaboration. And then you could even take their summary and then paste it here. And if you didn't watch the previous section, basically how you want to update your summary sections is right off the bat, from the very first sentence, you want to talk about how much relevant years of work experience you have for that particular job. You want to highlight your industries that you've worked in, and then you want to highlight your domain of expertise within that industry as it relates to your skills. So for me, as a recruiter, they would want to know what kind of jobs I've hired for in the past, and hopefully it perfectly matches with the type of jobs that they're going to hire this new recruiter on their team to be searching for, because it means I can onboard faster, I don't have to be trained as much, and I already know what to look for with those types of candidates. That's what you want to highlight in your very first sentence of your summary, is to hopefully match that domain and industry expertise of exactly what they're looking for, so they don't even have to read the rest of your resume and you can already get an interview. And of course, if you don't match that for the job or the company that you're applying for, you're going to want to highlight something similar to it as much as possible to show them that maybe you have the adjacent skill set. So maybe you haven't hired front-end software engineers, but you've hired full-stack software engineers. And then parentheses, you can add the specific types of languages that they've used, just in case at this company they also need someone or hire engineers who have used that type of language. That way you can still hopefully stay relevant and not get immediately rejected. And then in the summaries, try not to highlight anything super obvious about your job, right? So for example, as a recruiter, it's pretty obvious that you need to be sourcing top tier candidates for your job. So you don't actually need to say that out loud. And then as a recruiter, everyone knows that you use LinkedIn and GitHub and you use Boolean searches to find candidates. So any of the basic skills that you know everyone has to have in your current line of work, you don't need to put that in the summary. And so what you want to do is replace all of this basic information with one or two super impressive accomplishments that would make them want to continue reading through your resume. So for me, I could say, built a 300-person startup from scratch, hiring engineering, leadership, and technical program managers in less than 2 years. This is a really good accomplishment to highlight as a recruiter, because how many other recruiters that I'm competing with can say that they were able to build a 300-person company from scratch by themselves with multiple different disciplines and levels, from junior level all the way up to executive. And then if you work in a really technical role like engineering or product management, I do think you should have a skills section. But for some of us who work in the less technical roles like in HR or sales or operations, you don't necessarily need to have a skills or tools section, because a lot of that stuff is actually going to be found in your resume itself. Now, the other thing to point out here that I really like about Google Gemini is they use font formatting like bolding really well in order to draw the reader's attention towards key terms or keywords that you would need to know to be optimized for ATS, and to show that you have all of the requisite skills to warrant an actual conversation and interview. So make sure you are using bold formatting or italicizing your fonts when you want to draw attention towards really key important skills. And for those of you who have worked less than 10 years, you wanted to get your resume down to exactly 1 page. And then if you've worked more than 10 years, you can have a 2-page resume. But usually you don't need more than 2 pages. And then once your resume is all updated and ready to go ahead and export that as a PDF, and then you can start applying for your jobs. And once you've updated your resume for all these online applications, you're also going to want to make sure that your LinkedIn is optimized so that recruiters and hiring managers can easily find your LinkedIn profile and message you about jobs at their company. So you can apply directly through them and you don't have to fight all of the other candidates online when you're applying for jobs. So you're going to want to watch this video here on how to get recruiters and hiring managers to find you more on LinkedIn. So what other tips and tricks do you have in order to create the best resume for free this year using all of the new AI tools? Leave your suggestions down in the comments so we can help the entire community. And let me know what other videos that you would want to see. Thank you all for watching, and don't be afraid to shake things up with your brand new resume.